Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Office Trivia Report episode of the Say Report. I am Devon. He is Sejan Sarowick. How you doing, Sejan?
I'm feeling good, but nervous because if you're going to ask us any Office trivia, you're asking the wrong crowd.
Oh no, this is This is going to be a recap of my time at Office Trivia. But before that, just because I want everyone to know, I got a little bit of feedback that someone's not enjoying the Suits LA stuff. I want everyone to know I'm not really enjoying it either, but I'm still going to recap Suits LA because I committed to the bit. And again, if it gets renewed for a second season, we'll drive off that bridge when we get there. But what we're doing for this one, because we're going to be starting with Suits LA, so that's 16 minutes. And then we're going to give 16 minutes to Ryan Coogler's film Sinners. And we are not outside of the spoiler window for Sinners, and we understand that. So if you don't want to hear about Suits LA and you don't want to hear about Ryan Coogler's Sinners, jump to like the 35-minute mark, and that's when we'll start talking about Office Trivia and my recap of my time with Office Trivia and some other things that happened this week. Without any further ado, we'll recap Suits LA. If it's a one and done, then that's all we'll say. But if it gets renewed, we're gonna keep on doing it. It Suits LA on the Say Report. So this was the first good episode of Suits LA since the pilot. Season 1, episode 9. I know all of that, like, set up and build. But season 1, episode 9, Bat Signal, was the first, like, truly good episode of Suits LA. And even then, only 95% of it was perfect. And I'm talking, like, perfect television. But there was 5% that was extraneous, out of character, and a waste of my fucking time. So that's just facts about Bat Signal. Do you want
to? We're gonna slowly start listening to you lose your fucking mind about this show. Like, just get angrier and angrier at yourself for doing this to yourself.
Well, you know,
sorry, you were gonna ask me a question.
Okay. Why do you think it was the first truly like perfect episode of Suits LA since the pilot?
Well, with a name like Bat Signal, all I keep thinking is, did they just let him just be Oliver Queen again?
No. But kinda, a little bit. I'm not as big fan of Green Arrow. So I would like you, in the back of your mind, to listen to all the things I'm about to say and tell me if that's what the Green Arrow would do. Specifically the Oliver Queen version from the CW adaptation of Green Arrow, called just Arrow, because we don't want to offend any of the colors. We can't call him Green Arrow. He's just the Arrow. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, he also wears like black for the first season and then becomes the Green Arrow. But that's like part of the whole bit. And then they've, much like you, committed to the name already.
Look, and that's the thing. I'm gonna use it as part of my 16 minutes to talk about Suits LA. This is an experiment. We've never really done like a full-on, we're recapping a season of television. We're doing it and we're finding things. And the feedback I got yesterday, it made me really happy because I'm like, I appreciate that feedback. I'm finishing at least season 1 of Suits LA. It's happening. And I'm glad that I did, because the reason why Bat Signal was good, Harvey Specter was in this whole episode. Harvey Specter showed up at the end of last week's Acapulco, which I said was really setting the chessboard. And it's an unfortunate thing that sometimes in a TV show, especially in a streaming TV show, you have these episodes that set up all the pieces. And it's not a filler episode. Like, a filler episode is straight up, this has nothing to fucking do with anything. The John Amos episode, Good Times, that kind of felt like a filler episode of television, because it didn't move any of the pieces forward. Acapulco, as much as I said, what a shitty episode of television it was doing a lot of place setting, and I have to give it its due for that. Certainly wasn't a filler episode, setting up the pieces so that an episode like Bat Signal can fly and be a pure phoenix ball of fire just out there in the world. And again, this is a show, one of the reasons why we're doing the Suits LA of it all is because it was originally going to be a streaming series. And it feels like, since Peacock has never really done one episode a week with their streaming series, this was probably all going to be dropped at once. And just because fuck conjecture and all that, right? All of this is my own conjecture. I have no evidence to support this. Aaron Korsh is not one of like the people in my contacts in my cellular device. I cannot call NBC's
He's not in your Signal
president.
chat?
Yeah, no. He's not in my Signal chat. Seth Hegseth won't shut the fuck up, but Aaron Korsh is not there. So I have no way to prove this, but I also feel like if they had done it, season 1 would have been the first 6 episodes that were a clear arc, and part 2 of season 1 or even a season 2 would be the episodes that we're currently exploring, episodes 7 through 13. And this episode, I'm saying Bat Signal was perfect, and that's because Harvey Specter was there, and even though basically Ted Black is just Harvey Specter again, the two of them work really well together, being these like cocky assholes. And then I think about the original Suits, and like that's kind of what the whole Mike Ross Harvey Specter dynamic was, is that they were two different types of cocky. But that's it. So basically the whole episode is Pellegrini was getting out of jail. In the first scene, the cold open of this episode is the reason why Pellegrini is getting out of jail. And that is after presenting the evidence of the racketeering, the RICO charges, and they did it in such a beautiful way. They called Daniel Hardman to the stand. They give him a hypothetical, how are these 3 companies acting? And in his smug Daniel Hardman way, he's like, well, very clearly, the first company is funneling money into companies B and C in large sums in order to hide it. And then he's like, all right, now that you say so, like this is stealing, like what this is money laundering. He goes, it's as clear as if I saw a bank being robbed in front of my naked eyes. All right. Would you be surprised if I told you that company A, B, and C are these 3 companies that you represent as a lawyer? Whoa. I gotta take a look at those again. Then they're like, that objection? Like, how the fuck did you do? Like, but you already on the stand said this is clearly a money laundering shell corporation type scenario. And now that we've named them as 3 companies that you represent as a lawyer, you don't get to walk that back. Like, they really played into the Daniel Hardman. That's the way you start it, right? He's the big bad for so much of Suits OG. I can't call it Suits OG because it's confusing for Suits LA. For the original Suits, and him coming in and just being a smug and like, I don't give a shit about you, as he always was, but this time it's shooting him in the foot, was incredible. And then they got cut to the jury. How do you find? We find Mr. Pellegrini guilty on all charges. So the murder charges, but really, and let's just talk about, it's the fact in fucking America, financial crimes are the ones that are really going to screw you. He gets life in prison for the RICO charges and the murder. But then his lawyer, played by Mark Derwin. I haven't really given him Mark. I love Mark Derwin. I think he's a great actor, and he's been really good as Pellegrini's lawyer. He's like, well, I'd like to call a witness before sentencing, and he calls Harvey Specter, and on the stand, Harvey admits to leaking the financial records so that Ted could do his whole thing. So the charges of racketeering, RICO charges, are vacated, so he's only now guilty of the murder charges, and he's given 25 years with the possibility of parole after 15. And that's where we are now. We're 15 years after 2010 New York, and Pellegrini has had good behavior, so he's getting released from prison. So now Harvey and Ted have created their task force, and their whole plan is to get Pellegrini back in jail. So the first scene, Ted wakes up at his house after they've been drinking all night. Harvey's done up in his suit, and he's like, I don't know how we drink the same much, and you look the way you do, and I feel the way I do. And Harvey's like, didn't I teach you never to start the day with sweatpants? Like, right from the beginning, these two are assholes, and they're having a good time. So then the ghost of Ted's brother, Eddie, shows up, and he's like, this isn't supposed to be fun. And he's like, you're right, I'm sorry. And Harvey's like, what the fuck you talking about? Like, he talked to the ghost of his dead brother in front of Harvey Specter. And he's like, nothing. It's just that we're not supposed to be having fun. Like, this is a serious thing we're doing. We're trying to get a murderer put back behind bars after, we kind of fucked up by trying to get the racketeering charges on there. So they go over to New York. They meet with Kevin. Thank fucking Christ Kevin is back. Because let's talk about the fact that Kevin not being in the 8th episode, one of the other problems with the 8th episode of Suits LA Season 1. Troy Winbush's character is so good. Kevin is such a good character. So they go to his father's office in New York, and they're like, hi, we have a whole plan. We need someone who will flip on before they go to Kevin's, I'm sorry. They greet Pellegrini as he's coming out of the maximum security facility. Like the beginning of Ocean's fucking 11. Like he's walking out and there's Ted and Harvey like, welcome back to polite society, asshole. And that is one of the strikes against this episode. He's like, every time I'm eating a steak, you're going to think of me. They like went on a metaphor off, and Ted and Harvey looked like fucking idiots, while the fucking bad guy also looked like an idiot. Like this guy is throwing not even like kindergarten grade insults your way, and you guys have no fucking response to it. Like it was bad. So then they go to Kevin, they're like, we got to do it. They find Santoro, who was one of Pellegrini's hitman enforcers, is the best person to flip on him because in the vacuum, he has ascended to the top of the family. But also we find out Santoro is the one who killed Ted's brother, Eddie. So like Ted's like, I don't want to fucking work with him. And Kevin's like, that's too fucking bad. When I beat him half to death, I should have killed him. But the fact that I didn't, he is the guy that we have to use if we want to put Pellegrini back behind bars. So they go to Santoro and they take a bunch of pictures, they record it, and then they leak those pictures and recording to Pellegrini so that Pellegrini thinks that Santoro's going to flip on him. Pellegrini shows up, the bar where they were drinking scotch where Eddie's like, I'm getting a pineapple juice across the street. Pellegrini pulls up, says, Ted, get in my fucking car. And he's talking to Ted and he's like, you think this is going to intimidate me? You talking to one of my former guys? I know this is all fake and staged. And let me tell you, and he incriminates himself. And they take pictures and video and recording of that. So then they leak that shit to Santoro so that both of them have heard all the like these photos thinking that Ted is working with the other, and they like get all up in their heads. And this is the part, because Harvey said in order to put Pellegrini back on behind bars, we're gonna have to break the law a little bit. We're gonna have to do some bad shit. Santoro comes up to them and he's like, oh, you send pictures of Pellegrini? You think I think this guy's gonna snitch? He's no fucking rat. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then he slams the pictures in the chest, goes back to his car, and his car blows up. His car explodes. Who do you think blew up his car, Sejan?
I mean, did they blow up his car?
They blew up his car. Kevin planted explosives in his black Escalade, and they blew up his car. And as he was walking to it, the guy's damaged. He dislocates his shoulder. He got some shrapnel in the face. And they're like, did you have to use that much explosive, Kevin? Yeah, I did, because that's how much the mob fucking uses. So then Santoro thinks that Pellegrini is the one who tried to fucking kill him. He immediately flips, gets a deal to get witness protection from the U.S. attorney by flipping on his boss. And then friggin' we see in 2010, Ted have to go talk to his boss about like, why the fuck did you try to go? We had him on murder charges, and then you tried to like give him that extra stab by getting him on the racketeering, and now I look like an idiot because I can't control my people. Jump to 2025, the guy is still the U.S. Attorney General. So like, I guess it wasn't that bad to your fucking career because you've been doing the same job for 15 years. A job that I don't feel like attorney generals of the United States stay in that office that long. I feel like there's a little bit more turnover because of like how presidents work and things, but just
we've seen a thing or two over the last 3 or 4 administrations in that specific regard. That would I agree with you. I think you're right. Like usually that's one of the first positions that, you know, when the new boss comes in and decides to shake it up by hiring a couple of people for positions that really don't need anything new, but they've got to put their stamp on something. That is usually one of those positions for a president.
Right. It's just one of those things that, you know, this guy's going to help me enforce the laws that I want to do as the president. So they do a nice joke about, like, your office looks the same, because clearly it's the same office. They probably shot the scenes back to back. They just added some of that Ben Nye old age powder to his hair. And he's like, nice. Look, I need you to tell me where you're putting Santoro for Witsec. Because he's like, you're going to let him get away with killing your brother? He's like, not if you tell me where you're putting him once he's in Witsec. Jump to Ted going to the hospital. This guy's laid up, and he's like, you know what? I got a good fucking deal. I turned on Pellegrini. You were right. And then fucking Ted Black admits to Santoro, I'm the motherfucker who blew up your car. It was me, you piece of shit. And he's like, no, I turned on my boss. And he's like, yeah, but you're going to get your sweetheart deal. But here's the thing. I know where they're putting you for witness protection. And he's like, oh, what? You're going to come visit? You're going to bring a deli spread? And he's like, no, but some of your old friends, they find out where you are. You're never going to be able to sleep sound ever again, wondering if someone's coming to finally put a bullet in your head for turning on your boss. And then he puts his thumb in the dislocated shoulder and then punches him and walks out. And it's just like, holy fuck. But then back in Kevin's office, him and Harvey are just eating fucking breakfast, and Harvey's like, you really know where he's going to go? He's like, no, that was a fucking bluff. But he don't need to know that it's a fucking bluff. He's still going to be afraid for his life every single day that he goes on. And then the reveal that Harvey has a son, a joke that he named him Ted, or maybe Kevin, because he always liked Kevin better. Harvey walks away into the sunset, probably never to be seen again. The other weak sides I have not talked about, because in LA, Stewart is still defending David Bowie, the Hollywood fixer, and he believes that he killed this whistleblower in a carjacking. But David Bowie has evidence that he was committing another crime, and he can provide, actual surveillance camera evidence because he was breaking into a house. That's what he was doing, and he was trying to steal something so he could leverage it over that producer. It was a sex tape. So Stewart, this whole time, this is the other week thing, he's like, I can't do it. I can't sleep. I'm all stressed out. This is one of the most prominent defense attorneys in the country, we're supposed to believe, but like maybe the guy I'm defending killed somebody and it's because of me, but it's not like he knew the name of the whistleblower or told the guy the name of the whistleblower. And then it turns out, no, she just died. And then they get that whole thing dropped. And then most useless scene, Erica and fucking Ricky talking about making a sex tape again. And sequels always perform better than the originals, which we are seeing is not necessarily the case in the last 15 years of Hollywood accounting. So I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yellowstone? Like, it's... So it was really good because you have Ted and Harvey working together, and it tied into the whole Pellegrini thing. For
the record, there did sound to be like there could have been a straight up Arrow plot of all of that, of him like bombing a car and like then doing the whole like, I know that you're where you are in witness protection and you just basically have to live with that fact for the rest of your life. Felt very Oliver Queen. Like there was a lot of what you were describing that I could very easily see in an Arrow episode.
Carmine Falcone, I tell him where you are, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but again, it was really good. But now it feels like all of the like things that were tying it to Suits are done. I don't know why they're ever going to have to go back to 2010. So I'm curious what the 10th episode is going to be. And I know I'm going a little bit over, but just weird fucking coincidences. David Bowie, when he walks in, Stuart Lane's like, where the fuck were you last night? And he goes, I murdered the Pope. And the Pope died the next day after this aired. That's just fucking weird, right?
Oops.
So that was a fun little moment. But, this was the first good one, and now it seems like they are unshackled and can go forward and actually build something new and compelling with the remaining 4 episodes of the season. And I guess we'll have to see where we go from there. So that's
four episodes to like establish their own fucking thing. So here we go, guys. It's wild that the 4-episode test is going to become the last 4 episodes of this season, but we'll see.
Right. And again, I am still super believe that this was originally going to be released in 2 parts to Peacock, and the first part was Dexter's whole "did you kill your partner" or whatever, and now this would be the second part, and so this was the part that they could kind of modify once they went to broadcast television. But like it is such a streaming show still with the 8 into 9. Because the way 8 ended, they're like, oh, we're starting the next episode right now. They did not anticipate you having to wait. And that was very strange. All right. Okay. So, Sejin, you saw a movie that I really want to talk about yesterday called Sinners by Ryan Coogler. And because we're trying to be nice to the people, spoilers. There are going to be spoilers. We're not going to
some heavy ass spoilers
heavy
for
fucking
a movie that
spoilers.
Actually can be spoiled.
Yeah, and it's very spoilable, this movie. So at the 21-minute mark, I'm gonna start the timer for 16 seconds, and then we'll do it. But if
16 minutes.
16 minutes. Sorry, I don't know why I always say seconds. I think it's because like on any other clock, it would be the seconds location. This little Pampered Chef timer, I love it. I love that it's part of the team, but it is very strange compared to every other timer I've ever used.
Well, there's not many cooking timers that require you to put seconds on a thing.
Right. That's true. That's very true. You're a good point. You bring up a good point. With that, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler time for 16 minutes. All right, so Sejin,
It's vampires.
It's vampires. But before we get to it's vampires, it's Irish vampires who are probably 800 years old. Did you see the whole movie? I just need to ask.
Oh, yes. Like, did I sit through and all the way through the credits and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
All right. So then you saw...
And I will point out something that I specifically was looking for. My theater did not turn the lights up, so until
awesome.
after
That makes me very happy.
credit scene. Yeah.
That dude, I'm glad that people are recognizing that because like even Doug Benson tweeted out as a like warning to people, don't leave when the lights come up because that mid-credit scene is actually part of the fucking movie. It's not like Sam L. Jackson showing up and saying, let's start the Avengers with vampires.
And to be clear, I don't feel like the movie implies that's going to happen. I didn't feel like, oh, Coogler like somehow made a decision here that I don't agree with, or like somebody made a decision here with like putting in some, because they do the initial credits with a couple of names and stuff like that, like they often do. But between the fact that mid credits and after credit scenes have become kind of something just part of the movie going experience nowadays, pushing that aside, the movie and the moments that you're seeing between kind of some stuff that's going on, there is an implication that it is worth sitting here for a few more minutes. Like the movie invites you to stick around. Like it's not like it's cut like you were talking about people getting up and leaving. I know we had a couple of people that were shuffling around once the credits started and definitely started talking and stuff like that. But everybody was pretty well aware like we're going to stay here because the movie shows a couple of clips here, there, and to kind of keep you in your seat anyway. So like even the movie itself is built to connect. There is connective tissue between the end of the movie and then this coda scene that they put in.
Yeah, it was so strange. I mean, the people who stood up and like stomped out angry, like they were rooting for the vampires. They were rooting for the clanpires, as I call them, because it's Ku Klux Klan members who were turned into vampires.
Well, actually, but I think very specifically, the bit is that the main vampire is not
that. That's
Let
very
me put
true.
it this way: doesn't give a shit about those kinds of politics, right? But is using the threat of the Klan as kind of a way to, because the Klan is what shows up at the end, really.
In the biggest Sejin's Gambit, if anyone saw a trailer for Sinners, it is the biggest Sejin's Gambit ever. Like you don't see Michael B. Jordan with the long gun until the last like 10 minutes of the movie, and it's like I thought that was
the whole moment of him pulling the long box off of the truck and rolling himself a cigarette was the entire fucking ad for this movie. But this gets to what my original spoiler was when I said there's vampires. That wasn't me joking. I saw the original preview for this and had an inkling. I was like, oh my god, I think Ryan Coogler made a vampire movie, but they're not saying vampire. So it leads to a lot of speculation of, is it vampires? Is it going to be some other type of supernatural threat? There's definitely something weird going on, but I didn't know the specifics, right? And then ever since then, I haven't really heard anything different, nothing clarified, nothing. This is one of the few instances, and we rarely get to do this on this show, where the marketing was actually stellar for this movie, but we're seeing the consequences of the other side of the coin. The marketing for this movie leans so heavily into keeping shit secret. You know, like for instance, I will give another huge spoiler. Michael B. Jordan plays two roles in this movie. Another thing that I was not prepared for.
I didn't realize it was him, and even in the movie, I'm like, that's him twice, right? Like that's Michael B. Jordan twice. I really thought that Smoke was I thought that he was just playing Stack. And then there was a moment where I'm like, oh, Smoke is him too.
I was like, oh no, how racist to buy. Everybody looks like Michael B. Jordan. I literally had that thought. And I bet you Coogler's like fucking laughing his ass off at stupid me for having that exact thought. Like, yeah, these assholes are gonna be wondering. So like shit like that, right? Never revealed in any of the previews. And we talk all the time about how previews give too much away. Sejan's Gambit aside, it didn't give away anything. Like showing the final moments of the movie did not reveal anything major that like ruined anything, right? So this movie, marketing wise, did exactly what we've always kind of said should be going on, and that like it entices you to see the film. You know Ryan Coogler made it. You know Michael B. Jordan's back with him again. Obviously, you're on board. There's some really cool implications about what's going on, but nothing that's giving anything away. There's all of this perfect marketing going on for what this movie is, and then because of that, I think that the movie's not getting the word of mouth that it otherwise would have, the initial word of mouth. Because what's happening is people are seeing it and then saying, "Holy shit, you need to see this movie," and telling everybody else. So the movie's doing well. It's a really interesting move marketing wise for what we usually see nowadays, where they just give away the whole goddamn movie.
I mean, it's currently #1 at the box office based on the Friday dailies. Also, looking at the Friday dailies, do you know what the #2 movie at the cinema is this weekend?
I know that they were putting Happy Gilmore back in cinemas
I wish it were Happy Gilmore.
Was it Star Wars?
It's Revenge of the Sith.
That was also
Revenge of the Sith. But so like Sinners beating a re-release of that is awesome. But then I'm sad because The Accountant Squared is in 3rd place. And, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about The Accountant Squared after we finish this thing, because I want to focus on Sinners. But, yeah, like, it's one of those situations where when I saw the first trailer for Sinners, I'm like, that is a movie that my mother will want to see. I know I want to see it. I am one of the biggest Ryan Coogler fanboys ever since I saw Fruitvale Station at the Route 1 Cinema Pub and walked out of it like, that was fucking exceptional. That movie is so good. And the ways that Sinners mirrors Fruitvale Station tells me that is Ryan Coogler's preferred way to tell a story. Because it is so much, we get to see this perfect day before shit goes down. And honestly, you could just watch until the vampires show up and have a beautiful, like, little period piece about how hard it was to live in Mississippi as a black person less than 100 years ago. Like,
so this movie really plays off of a bunch of really good traditional vampire movies, not just tropes. It also does a bunch of good tropes, but it also does some really good like movies that we've seen in the past. And I would be remiss if I did not point out that there is a very from dusk till dawn attitude in this film. Of the first half of this movie is setting up all of these characters with no inclination that there is a vampire until finally the moment that there is. Right? It doesn't open up with a first kill. It opens up with this whole story, as you're pointing out, about this society that exists in this particular area, and like you're learning all about the politics of everybody, and you're learning about Smoke and Stack, these twins that have run off to Chicago to join Al Capone, but are somehow mysteriously back with a lot more money than when they left, and like you're getting some bits and pieces about that. You're getting the history of the women that they used to love, the families they used to have, and like all of this gorgeous setup for these characters. Even Sam, who doesn't have as deep of a backstory, because I mean honestly it's just because he's just so young. There's not much that has gone on in his life yet. Like this is kind of one of the first big things that happens to him in his life is getting to play at this juke joint that the brothers are opening up. And so like you even get a good piece of his history though, with like him growing up on the plantation and his dad being the preacher and all that stuff. So like it's just a bunch of world building for the first hour of this 2-hour 20-minute film.
Yeah. And then because the world is built so well, you get to play in it in these ways that are just exceptional. Like that, like it's just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Coogler has gone on record as saying that his biggest influence on this film are From Dusk Till Dawn, which is pretty obvious, but then also The Faculty, which made me smile. I love The Faculty. And then to think about like the whole who is and who isn't part of The Faculty.
Well, the whole bit with the garlic becomes straight out of The Faculty when they do the whole nose pen scene.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super fucking cool.
Well, I mean, okay, so Tarantino definitely, there's some Tarantino-ness going on in this film and all of that sort of shit.
Oh yeah, real Django vibes in the Sejan's Gambit. That I'll just say that.
Yeah. Like, but when we're talking about From Dusk Till Dawn and The Faculty, then who we're really talking about is Robert Rodriguez, right?
Yes, and and it's right there and it's excellent. And you have such great actors too, like Delroy Lindo coming in as Delta Slim, and
I fucking love Delroy Lindo.
I love Delroy Lindo, and he's so good in this movie, and the music is so good, and that sequence, because we're told in the beginning that there are some musicians who are so talented, they're storytellers, and through their music they can literally pierce the veil between not just our world and other worlds, but other times as well. So when we see Sam perform at the juke joint for that first time, it brings in all this music from the past, but also the future in this psychedelic, funky fusion that is just like, I was in tears. It was so moving, that whole sequence. And like, it sets that whole thing up. And the way that they talk about how the Choctaw have a name for these and how Irish people had this name for it. And then we see the Choctaw Indians who are chasing the vampire at one point, and that vampire is, based on the things that he says, probably 800 years old and from early Ireland when people from England pushed them out and away. Like, it's just...
Yeah, well, and I want to know all about that group of the Native Americans that show up, the indigenous people that show up, that are clearly... There's a conceit to vampirism to a lot of Catholic belief, right? Like you need to have a lot of belief in the cross, a lot of belief in a God and a hell, and a lot of belief in that sort of shit, right? Often, and this movie leans into that, right? And so with that kind of background, the introduction of these natives that are chasing him in the beginning, that are this basically this Van Helsing team going after him, like, they practice a Catholic religion in a weird way, and like, so like there's this like really interesting depth to these characters that show up for all of like 10 minutes of the movie, not even 5 minutes of the movie.
It is so quick. It ties the world together, and then they're gone, and it's just like,
it gives just enough explanation about what's been going on to forgive the fact that we have not heard fuck all about a vampire for the first hour of this movie, so that when it finally does happen, it provides that kind of that bridge between the two worlds that lets you almost immediately forgive the fact. I say almost because I would forgive somebody that was very in the mood for a Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan joint coming into a movie like this and then being kind of put off by what it becomes, because this is something also very different. As much as it definitely has those vibes of Fruitvale and things like that, this is still something insanely different for Coogler. Like, this is new ground all around. And like, we don't often get to see a black horror film, right? Especially not one succeed as well as this one is succeeding. And so like, there's so much going on in that regard that is also just amazing too. Because like, you talk about the ways in which it celebrated the past and the future in this really cool psychedelic scene that you see in the middle of the movie, perfect time for the edible to hit, is like this idea that like, all of it is this celebration of Black culture. This entire movie is just par for the course for Coogler in terms of that celebration of Black culture.
Yeah, it was just so good. It was so enjoyable.
It was. Yeah, well, and so back to the other vampire stuff that it really kind of harkens to, right? We talked about the after credit scene, felt very Anne Rice, the mid credit scene, felt very much like it was straight out of like Queen of the Damned or Interview with a Vampire. That whole moment, you get some good stuff there. Dusk Till Dawn. We talked about The Faculty where like you get like that weird moment, but I was also thinking of The Thing where they all stand around and test each other.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Delroy Lindo has one of the greatest tropes in all of these vampire movies of the old timer that realizes he's at the end of his rope, so he sacrifices himself to save everybody, right? You get that moment. Like, there's just so many great tropey moments in this movie. It gets a little messy in the action, in that it gets kind of hard to tell, both because it's all taking place at night and all of that sort of shit, but it gets kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on. But I think it's purposely designed that way because it's what lets you get the moment at the end where you find out that the brother has run off and
so like that was one of my,
wow, that's Haley Steinfeld's character's name.
Mary is her name.
Mary, yeah. That Mary and Stack run off together.
Yeah, that's just that whole sequence where I was like, oh, and he probably killed him with the guitar. I'm like, no, he killed him with the stake that he didn't kill Stack with. Like, that's the whole thing, is that's how we're told that Stack is still alive. And you're not going to get that in the first move, like in the first moment, but once you realize that Stack was spared by his brother, you realize where he had a stake to kill the Irish vampire. Like, it's just this beautiful thing. And Mary, when she sees shit go bad, you see her kind of run off. And my mother's like, how was she not killed? And I'm like, because she abandoned them. When she's like, she went to survive herself.
One person... Right. Yeah, well, and remember, like, there's so much really good. So this movie also does the really good thing where we're talking about all the ways in which, or I'm talking. I don't want to put this on Devon because I'm the one doing this asshole move of talking about all the shit that this movie is ripping off, but it's not. It's also doing this really important thing where it's adding its own flavor to the lore, and it's introducing a bunch of stuff in terms of the history, in terms of the whole, like, music piercing the veil and all of that, adding to vampire lore, phenomenal. Like, the fact that Sammy kind of draws them there with his music, and they're like, we want you so that you can sing our songs, so that you can be basically another leader like the main dude is, right? Beautiful stuff. In that, they're introducing the idea that vampires have the soul of the person still in them somewhere. They're just trapped, right? And so with that, they're able to have wants and needs that the people had. So the whole character of Mary, like, she runs off not out of fear, but because in her head, what she sees as what the perfect ending is them turning all of them and them all being together as a family. Something that she's always wanted was to be part of the group with them. So when
Thank you, American history class. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say the other stuff, but it's the Jim Crow one drop rule, right? She has in her history she has a black relative, so instantly that makes her in this world, right, just on the same side as everybody else, right? And so, like, there's this whole thing where all the people she loves, she sees getting killed all of a sudden is not what she wanted. So she runs off because, like, this is not going out the way that she planned. So she runs off out of sadness. Like, it's not a fear that she runs away from. No. And it's survival. It's like, I can't watch this, and if I see this, am I going to lose myself to it's
as a vampire. Yeah. It's amazing. It's this great move to, like, show that, like, these things are monsters, but there is still the person is still in there. There's a very specific different type of monster that they would have been if they didn't have that soul any longer, right? Like, we're given, like, different types of things that they could be, but then we find out that they're vampires, so that means that they are still the people they once were. It's an amazing move by this movie to really build up some concepts and some lore of its own.
And that's, like, why I don't understand these people, like, I wish it'd just been basic demons and not vampires. It's like, well, the fact that they're vampires is very central to, like, part of the story he wants to tell, the whole soul thing that Sijin just touched on. But then also, vampires are a type of demon in the eyes of the Catholic Church. Like, it's real weird for them to be like, why weren't they just demons? And I'm like, well, they kind of were. They were just a type of demon. Succubi are demons. Vampires are demons. Like, it's a weird line that people were drawing with this movie, being like, oh, why did it have to be vampires?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that wants a good education on that, take this with a grain of salt if you want to, but it's very much within, like, the whole concept of the Buffyverse, is that they are a demon inhabiting a body alongside a soul, is very much kind of the whole point in that series. Like, that's what the lore of Buffy is, right? And really interesting in that regard.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing I have to do, and then we'll move on to other things. Do you know Smoke and Stack's real names, Sijin? Did you catch that?
So Smoke is Elias, right?
Smoke is Elijah. Stack is Elias.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure because I loved those little moments of like when their Christian names were used and the reasons why they were used.
Well, and like finding out that the reason that they're back is because they played Capone against the Irish up in Chicago and like stole a bunch of money from both sides is like, oh man, like that's some dangerous shit there. But that's just world building. Like it's not even like part of it. Like it's not like gangsters show up, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to we talked about the Tarantino of it all, but the entire moment at the end where the Klan comes back, right? And that was another thing that it made sense to me once we got to that scene, but I had kind of missed that was what was going on. Is that the main vampire gets that main guy, gets that first guy in the first place, and the whole reason that they're even at the juke joint to begin with is because the guy that sold them the juke joint is a Klansman, and his intention is to come back the next morning with the Klan to do what the Klan does, right? And like come back
rob
to them
their profits
in the morning.
Yeah,
and so the idea being that join us tonight so that you can fight off the Klan when they come tomorrow is like part of the whole like selling point. And so when that doesn't happen and he still has to deal with the Klan in the morning, that whole final scene of the movie, like at first there was a moment where I was just like, wow, this just feels like this is just insult to injury at this point. But then when I kind of realized like they had been kind of building to this the whole time with this whole conversation about like you if you come with us and you join the family, like you'll have protection and you'll have love and we'll have togetherness and we can take these guys out tonight, and like that whole like I got the nephew here and he told me the whole thing about what's going to happen tomorrow is it's next level. Is central to the whole plot. So it was just I don't know, this movie just really blew me away.
So, I mean, I'm going to use this as a moment to apologize for something I said in the American Pie Presents episode. Omar Miller is definitely actually in this movie playing Cornbread, but it was actually Gerard Mixon who was in The New Guy. So apologies for me getting that confused. But weirdly, American Pie Presents is available. You can only get it on podcast version. We don't put those ones up on YouTube. The characters in American Pie Presents are weirdly kind of cribbed from The New Guy. We probably gonna watch The New Guy at some point is the thing that I just have to say, CJ, and I'm sorry about it. But
you don't have to apologize to me. First of all, just talking about the Whedonverse and everything going on with Buffy, like Elijah Dushku trying to get away from all that and get a movie career going. Yeah. Like I'm on board. Also, isn't who plays? Because there's a whole bit of him going to prison in that movie.
Yeah, Eddie Griffin.
Cat Williams that's in that.
It's Eddie Griffin.
That's who it is.
And we love Eddie Griffin on this show. But Zoe Deschanel, Gerard Mixon, and Perry Shen are such like the same characters as Ariel Kebbel, Omar Miller, and I don't remember who played the guy who he's friends with who's like, I fucked the oboe, the guy who originally fucked the oboe. That's so very similar, like when you look at that, and it's like that's where I got him. That's why I got Omar Miller and Gerard Mixon confused in my head. So I will apologize about that here. And I think that's everything on Sinners. So thank you for listening to us spoiler this movie. It's really good. Even with everything we said, we did not touch on everything. There is some real beauty that happens in this film that is unrelated to stuff that we talked about.
It's also kind of a musical. I will also tell people that. Like, not like a full-on one, but there is more than 2 or 3 instances of just this movie just breaking out into song and dance.
Yeah, like, usually I'd compare that to something like the Blues Brothers, where, like, the Blues Brothers is more of a musical than this was a musical.
Oh, yes, but like Blues Brothers, I think there are certain people that would argue Blues Brothers is a straight-up musical.
Yeah, because they're performing, but, like, it's one of those situations where the performances are live, so, like, not the early... No, you know what? Everything that happens in the Blues Brothers feels like we're actually performing at this time, except for Think. Think is the only one that really feels, like, out of pocket in terms of that. Like, Shake a Tail Feather, Ray Charles starts playing the piano, and they all just start performing in a music store. That happens. Mm-hmm. Aretha Franklin doing Think at the Chicken Shack, Like, that's like, this is a for real musical moment. Because even
the dancing in the street that happens after that and all that.
Yeah, like it's one of those, and the fact that the other waitresses know the song and everything, like that one feels. But like the Reverend doing his song, I cannot think of James Brown's name. James Brown, like he is preaching and he performs, and that's a thing that happens at religious places. Many the moocher they're performing, but there's some
a word for
realism.
it. There's a word for it, but it's basically diegetic.
It's all diegetic.
Yeah, right.
Except for Think. Think is really non-diegetic until it becomes diegetic when like Sweet Lou pulls out his saxophone and starts playing along. But you better think, and the music just comes from nowhere. A lot of the other music is established as already going on, and then some magical realism happens. I think you're not wrong that it's a musical. There are some beautiful musical moments in this film, in Sinners. But it's not a musical like Wicked. It's more of a musical like The Blues Brothers.
But there is like choreography. There is music. There is, so like just be ready for that as part of your time with it. But like for me, that was a delightful surprise, was how much music was actually in this movie.
Agreed.
Like I knew it was going to be about music, but had no idea it was going to be so musical, and that was great.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so the name of this episode, he said with laughter in his voice, is the Office Trivia Report. And that's because after killing trivia at the bar I was going to on Tuesdays for trivia by winning so many nights in a row, they've decided to do it now as a once-a-month sort of occurrence. And the first month with a theme. That's the other thing. It's now themed trivia monthly, as opposed to just like general knowledge trivia. And the first month, it was March, they did Harry Potter trivia. I can't support Harry Potter stuff anymore. And I kind of hate that because, like, there are things in that story I really enjoy. There are moments related to Harry Potter that I really enjoy. But, like, straight up, fuck J.K. Rowling. Don't want to put, like, words in Siege's mouth, but I mean, is that a Say report, like, standing?
No, I think we can put the Say report stamp of approval on that particular comment.
Yeah.
I will say this. I very much ascribe to the Daniel Radcliffe like school of thought on the whole thing, where he talks about how he's not going to let J.K. Rowling ruin it for him, so like you don't have to let it ruin it for you, but obviously engage with it as much as you feel like you can.
Yeah.
So like if that means you don't touch it anymore, like that's awful, but like I get it. But like at the end of the day, like I have my own feelings about Harry Potter that she doesn't get to own. Death of the author, motherfucker.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I think the issue is that because that author is still alive, and we know that she is currently working to try to do another version of it that she will sign off on, like the people who call Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint traitors because they're like, oh, that lady can go fuck off with her insane politics and beliefs. Like, those people scare me. That, like, look, just because you did something doesn't mean that, like, you're beholden to the person who created that thing. Those books were adapted, and I don't know. She scares the crap out of me. But the fact that she is currently working to do a new Harry Potter series, which I know I will not watch, and hoping to make sure that everything about that new Harry Potter series is in line with her personal politics. I mean, this is a person who named her Irish character Seamus. It's the
Asian character Cho
Chang. Yeah, like it's she did a lot of stereotyping with her characters, and it's hard to read and hard to see once you know what she believes. But yeah, fuck her. So I'm not gonna go to Harry Potter trivia, right? Even though I know that stuff better, it just like felt weird to be like just a little bit. This is kind of giving something oxygen that right now I don't want to give oxygen because of everything that she's doing in the world. Then we went in after that trivia, and one of the bartenders who knows the family, right? Because I started going with Dale and Mom, and we were having fun doing trivia. Is like, hey, you missed Harry Potter, but are you going to come for the Office trivia? And we felt this weird obligation to like go to Office trivia. And that's fine.
To the bartender or like to the universe?
To the bar, not to the bartender, right? And to the people who work there. Like, and our whole thing is, even though trivia is done, we still want to go to this place like once a month. We want to support it. I like the place. It's the Thirsty Beaver. It's the place that we just went to all of them like last weekend. So it's like, all right, we'll go to office trivia and we'll see what it's about. Also a little bit to the trivia guy, because like we had become friendly a little bit, and he's like, it's crazy. You showed up, you missed the first 3 rounds, and you won trivia. Like I was losing my shit up there that you came in for round 4 and blew everybody away. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. But also, he runs the trivia where like the point values go up every round. So like it's easier to do that. Also, the way that he runs his trivia is let's say we're playing, it is 5 points if you get the question right, and whoever answers the question first, like the fastest correct, gets an additional 5 points. And that scales every round as well. So like, yes, I came in for the 4th round of trivia, but it was 10 points if you got the question right, and an additional 15 if you got it right first. So it was pretty easy for me to like build up and multiply my score. Like it's it's one
of those. That's some wild ass trivia scoring, I gotta say.
Well, here's the thing, and we finally saw it at the office trivia of it. There are options. Like I had seen before evil mode, and when evil mode is active, if you get it right, you get that, and the first person who gets it right gets whatever the bonus points are. But if you get it wrong, you lose like the bonus point amount. So like you could get 10 points if you get it right, but if you get it wrong, you'll lose 15 points. And he'll do that when like scores are high and kind of close, so that like you can't just be guessing. But then he also has go wide mode, and this is all based on Speed Quizzing is the app that they use, and it's something that apparently is used, and I really dig it. They create a network, you connect your phones to it, and that way, since you have to be connected to that network the whole round in order for your score to be counted, you can't be on your phone like looking up answers or anything like that. It does require you downloading an app and connecting to potentially a not secure network, so it's not the perfect solution, but I like the way that it kind of creates a community of people who are quizzing in ways that like pen and paper don't. Like if you're just filling out forms and then you're turning them in.
Yeah.
And and also because it's electronic, scoring is instantaneous, so you have like the leaderboard and you see where people are right away. So it's a little bit more engaging, but it's not perfect. But then he also had the go wide mode, which he implemented this week, where if you get the question correct, you can guess twice. And if you only guess one answer and get that correct, then you get the full amount of points and you get the bonus points if you're the fastest. If you do 2, you get half of the points. So like it's kind of a nice way to like even the playing field if like people aren't certain on things. Like I really like I'm into speed quizzing as a tool for like pub trivia. I really enjoyed that as that. But it's The Office, and I have possibly seen maybe a season's worth of The Office. And I don't mean in order. Like I'm saying, if a season is generally 22 episodes of The Office, I've maybe seen 22 full episodes start to finish, but never like
I don't
really.
Even know if I've, I don't even know if I've done that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even promise that.
Well, I will say this: there was a final bonus question of how many episodes of The Office were there. It's 201. I know that. And I did get the 50 points for that, for being the first person to say how many episodes it was. So, like, one part of my brain helped. But of the 9 teams that competed, I got 7th place, Dale got 8th place, and Mom got 9th place. That was after Dale was in the lead for a long time, because we decided we got a couple of trivia books. We played trivia tests online. We watched a bunch of like condensed timelines of the show. Like we basically crammed like a high school social studies test for office trivia. And we had fun doing it. It was $10 per player, so we each ponied up $10 to compete. And it was good. And it was really crazy seeing these teams that were like killing it. And one of the things that I like about the trivia at this, and I realized this was the thing I liked most about going to trivia at the Thirsty Beaver when it was a weekly thing, is this weird community, but you kind of have this anonymity. Like, I play under Devon Decker. I'm trying to brand it. A couple of times I played like Devon Decker from the podcast The Say Report, or from the Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe podcast. Like, build my brand, advertise us just a little bit to these people. But even then, playing as Devon Decker, like, there'd be tables like, because I'd get like 4 or 5 questions right in a row, and you'd have these tables like, who the fuck is this Devon Decker person? Like, so you don't know who the teams are, and seeing that at the office, like Flonkerton was like a team that was just killing it, and like we figured out who the table next to us, what their team was, and then the Flonkerton stuff, and they go, are you guys the Flonkertons? And I go, no, they're that table over there, and she's like, bullshit, because it was like a mother, a father, and they're like 10-year-old or less kid, and they were just killing it on office trivia. But, like, there are people who would come home and that's all they watched. I've listened to a lot of our older episodes, and we talked about, like, how people were mad at Netflix when they lost The Office, not realizing that, like, that's because Netflix doesn't own The Office. NBC Universal owns The Office. So, but I remember when it was on Netflix, those people who all they would watch is The Office. Like, but then I also remember Will, and I believe it was the top 5 Zookeeper episode of the Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe that we released this month, where he said, I've run bar trivia a lot, and office trivia is usually the worst attended. So again, there were only 9 teams, which is not great for trivia, but the Thirsty Beaver was never really getting more than like 10 teams anyway. So I feel like it's just the people who go there on Tuesdays who would just participate in trivia before, and then they did this. But there were some people who like clearly knew the fucking Office. Like, Devon Decker scores, but about the Office. And it was nice. Like, and it's happy, and they won, good prizes and things like that. But the guy, I was talking to the trivia guy afterwards, and I'm like, my friend, he runs bars, but, in like the UK and Australia, and he says the office trivia is always poorly attended. He's like, well, I'm pretty happy with the turnout here, but I did an office trivia night in Providence like a year and a half ago, and we had 80 teams. So I just want, like, apparently in America, the office is still a pretty big draw.
Well, especially the American version.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. The ways that people still meme The Office and everything around here, like, I could guarantee that The Office would be a selling point for people for sure. Disney trivia is the other big one that's out here. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but Office trivia, Disney trivia, Star Wars specifically, if they did like a Star Wars night, would be big out here.
I don't know.
There's some certain nerddoms out here that people are just like still like deeply ingrained in.
We should probably have talked about this off mic before I bring it up, but there's an Adam Sandler trivia going on the 16th of May, which we have a recording scheduled to do an Adam Sandler episode. We might need to move that because I kind of want to see how I could do at an Adam Sandler trivia night.
It would be pretty funny to see how well you could do.
Yeah. So we'll discuss that afterwards. But it is something that, like, and I mentioned that to the trivia guys. Like, oh, that sounds like an awesome thing to do. Because before he would really lean into like, this week we're doing Step Brothers trivia for a round, or Back to the Future trivia for a round. So here's 20 questions about Back to the Future. Like that. So the guy likes like media and movies and stuff like that. So when I'm like, I think I'm going to an Adam Sandler trivia night in a couple of weeks, he's like, oh my God, that sounds incredible. So we'll see what happens. But it was a fun night all around. Even though we didn't win, we got to drink. We did not kick the keg, even though I don't know how we didn't kick the keg, because on our table alone, I think like 12 beers from the keg were drank. And this is an October beer. This is the Headless Oarsman. So, like, I don't know, because nobody was ordering that beer. and it's a nice, strong, like, October beer, and we had good times.
Nice.
And then, you know, I had dropped my car off earlier because I knew I'd be drinking, and I got dropped off, and I still got to do acoustic karaoke. So all in all, acoustic trivia. Yeah. The Office trivia at the Thursday Beer, it was a good time, and I'm glad I did it. But I can say right here to you, CJ, I do not know The Office. Like, and I probably shouldn't be admitting my weaknesses here on the Say Report, but here we are with me admitting that, like, if you ever come up against me, you know, The Office might be a way to beat me.
I will say this, that, like, if there's going to be things that we have gaps in our knowledge about, I'm okay with The Office being one of them.
You know what? It's just, I hate the characters. And that's the weirdest thing about it is, like, and I think about the shows that I watched the way that people watched The Office. And one of them clearly Cheers, love Wings, loves things like Raising Hope, My Name is Earl, and Seinfeld, right? And all of those shows that I watched, like, I'm just going to throw on an episode, even like American Dad, like, I care about the characters, even though some of them are like the most despicable people that have ever existed. They're not the level of cringe or like awkwardness that the Office characters are. Because the Office characters are weirdly grounded in reality. They're not like parable characters. They're not avatars of some sort of thing. Like you could sit next to Michael Scott on the bus. And like,
it's weird because it's not like, hey, everybody's got a it's not like, hey, all bosses are like this. It's, you know, one specific boss like this, or like not every secretary is like this. You know, one specific but everybody knows one specific secretary like this, and it's so specific that all you're doing is thinking about that one person in your life the whole time that you're watching it, and I can't do that.
No, it just like turns my stomach and. And also, like, we watched the first episode of the U.S. version, and Dale's like, everybody says it's just the British Office. Can we watch the first episode of the British Office? And she's just like, oh my God, they didn't do any work on the U.S. first episode. They took the script and just redid it, and it's weird. And, like, it's also weird because, like, the Adolf Hitler joke from David Brent hits way different than it from Michael Scott, like where he pretends to be Adolf Hitler in The Office.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I also think, like, I like the UK Office. I will admit that I've watched all of that. It's only 25 episodes, so it's not as hard as watching 201 episodes of the US Office. And I've always felt like it was a little bit superior. And that's probably because a little bit of the culture thing, right? Like, it's a little bit harder to recognize that culture. But also, I think there was a little bit more care put in because Merchant and Gervais were like the people behind it. Like, I like in the British episode, the first episode of the British Office, you know, he puts, I can't think of the Dwight's character's name, Garrett. He puts Garrett Stapler in the Jell-O, and they call it jelly. And, you know, and then he's eating jelly, and it's the same flavor. Like, it's still lemon Jell-O. And I think that is like a really nice attention to detail. And it also really incriminates Tim, right? Martin Freeman is incriminated when he is eating the same flavor Jell-O as what the Stapler's in. In the U.S. Office, the Stapler's still in lemon Jell-O, but Jim is eating red Jell-O, and it's just like, well, that doesn't point to anything. That's circumstantial. And it's not like funnier because it's circumstantial. It's just, why couldn't you get a cup of yellow Jell-O, prop department? like I'm sorry. And a lot of that comes from, I'm very judgmental of prop masters because I have worked with some truly terrible prop masters who like just phone it in. And so whenever I see it in like I watched some show and I'm like, wow, this show has a terrible prop master, because no, that is not what that person would have at all. Maybe it was the season finale on Matlock where they're like, that's not even what they're talking about, and that's what you have them using. You're on like a major network. You can't get somebody who can get the right prop. I remember working on Angels in America. I think there's a statute of limitations on this. The place doesn't exist anymore, so whatever. And they wanted a napkin dispenser, like a restaurant grade napkin dispenser. And we went to Friendly's during tech, and I just stole the napkin dispenser from the Friendly's. Because the one that the prop master kept presenting was like, no, that wouldn't be in a diner. Like, what are you doing? Like,
that's not the kind of dispenser it would be.
Yeah. And then also on Angels in America, like, this is the big one, because this is the first time they had like hired an outside prop master, and they were making like real money to be the prop master for the IV bag when, you know, one of the characters who is sick in Angels in America Part 1 is in the hospital. They put up a colostomy bag, and they were using that colostomy bag into performances until someone said, hey, why is his IV bag a colostomy bag on an IV bag stand? And that really upset. I mean, you know the director. It was Bryna. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she was furious. And then that same day, I got an IV bag. Like, and it was the easiest thing in the world for me to do. And I was not getting paid to do it. I called up the on-campus. We also were in college at the time. There's an on-campus health services. And I'm like, hi, could I borrow a bag of saline solution through like the running of Angels in America, and then we can return it to you? And they're like, yeah, you can just take it. You don't need to return it to us. But like,
you got this shit in droves.
Yeah, just like, yeah, it's a college campus, right? Lot of dehydration at the University of Rhode Island. You know, the college that was removed from Playboy's top party schools because, we can't allow professionals. I know it's an urban legend, but it also feels real because I've heard my dad's party stories from the 70s.
Well, yeah, we're not litigating that again. Yeah. Believe me, shit went down at URI. There was reasons for people to have hangovers.
Oh, when the Red Sox won their first World Series. I mean, CJ, did you see the pool? They flipped the bitch. All right. Well, that is enough about the Office trivia stuff and all those other things. Is there anything else that you came to this episode to want to talk about? Because there's something I think we need to talk about.
I feel like I need to take a moment of silence for you because of the death of Papa's House.
Oh, I've stopped watching Papa's House like 12 episodes ago.
Yeah, well, they just canceled it for you. So
I know, I saw that it was canceled, and I'm like, oh, didn't we cancel that like in September? I really, and it's sad because I love the Wayans brothers. I absolutely love the Wayans brothers. I love Damon Wayans. I love Damon Wayans Jr. And like the show just didn't know what it wanted to do, and it was also like really 90s comedy in 2020. Like, and I know that there can be a place for that, but not with the audiences you're looking for, and certainly not with the advertisers that you have now. They're not going to want to pay money for a show that's being hyper misogynistic. Like 80s level of misogynistic, the way that it sort of trickled into 90s comedy. So, it's small for that. Like, but hopefully this means that Damon Wayans Jr. can get on something else. And, you know, I don't know about Damon Wayans. I feel like a lot of the outdated stuff was unfortunately coming from him. I love him. Bulletproof is one of my favorite movies that he's in. I love him in Earth Girls Are Easy. He was good in Lethal Weapon, playing like Danny Glover's character in a more modern setting. Like, it all kind of worked out, but I don't know if the type of comedy he's creating is relevant in the world anymore. And that's sad, right? But that's the nature of comedy, is it how it ages and changes, and you have to be sort of aware of that. Like,
no, yeah, there's a large portion of comedy is relative to the context and that it's in, right? There's very rarely jokes that can survive through time because of the fact that you no longer have that time and place where it was originally created to house it. I don't know, like I think that Damon Wayans probably still has something in him, and this just wasn't it. You know, it's like one of those things, because like there's plenty of guys that are still doing comedy that have been doing it for 30 years that he'll find something. I'm not worried about that. I think the bigger thing for me is that Damon Wayans Jr. still feels like he's still in that part of his career where he needs to be working, whereas like Damon Wayans feels like he's very much not in that space anymore.
Well, I mean, it's also kind of like the fact that it was him collaborating with his father. And again, the outtakes from Papa's House, go on YouTube, type in Papa's House outtakes. That is funny stuff. because it is a father and a son. They clearly know each other. They can vibe and riff on each other in these beautiful ways. And that stuff was good. It's just a shame that that did not translate into entertaining on the show. Like I don't know. And again, that show did not know what it wanted to be. Papa was originally a DJ, and then he quit to start a podcast, and then his podcast did good, so he got brought on to be a DJ again. It was a mess. It's like, what do you want to do with your show? Like, more of a mess than Suits LA. And that's because Suits LA just has to contend with the fact that we're not going to drop all the episodes at once. And we have to be a week-to-week show. Papa's House knew what it was and did not know how to do it. And it's especially, kind of insane when you consider that something like Shifting Gears with Tim Allen, it's sort of that same outdated 90s guy comedy that Tim Allen is presenting in that show, but it knew enough about the modern world to, juxtapose it. Like, the fact that Papa started a podcast, but he didn't understand how podcasts worked at all as the guy who records the podcast. We're going to take a break. And I'm like, all right, I understood that you said that, but, you're acting like you're actually on a break. You just stopped the recording. There's not, ads that are running right now that you got to be ready to come back from.
Right.
It was just a little out of pocket. Also, I guess if we're talking about that, real tears shed for the fact that the spinoff of The Equalizer and The Neighborhood were just killed at CBS as well. The Neighborhood does not surprise me because they were planning a spinoff from The Neighborhood back when they thought season 7 was going to be The Neighborhood's last season. The idea that they've been given an 8th season to actually wrap things up on their own terms. Why would they need a spinoff from that? A spinoff that would remove 2 main characters from the cast.
Sure.
That, I understand why that one is done. But the Equalizer one, they just had the backdoor pilot on April 20th. I haven't seen it, but I know that the second Equalizer, or Equalizer Squared maybe, was going to be Titus Welliver. And I love Titus Welliver, so I was excited for that. But neither one of them is going forward. And again, I have some fears because a lot of the shows that are getting greenlit and renewed, and especially Papa's House being canceled at CBS, are white heavy projects. So the minority stuff that has always been kind of a nice part of what CBS is bringing to the table. Think about the fact that they had Magnum PI and they had SWAT. I mean, they have SWAT still, but it's dying. But also shows like NCIS that were very diverse casts of characters. Scorpion is a very diverse show. That highlights more than just a cast of white people. It makes me a little bit nervous that the shows that are primarily, black and people of color are the shows that are not getting renewed or given more life at CBS. What had pretty much been the most diverse network is slowly being whitewashed. And when you consider that they're also the ones who are marketing to the older generations, I sort of get it, but that was kind of the nice thing about it, is that CBS is for old people, but also look at all this diversity. Diversity you're not really seeing on NBC and certainly not seeing on ABC. You have what? I think the only really, you have Grey's Anatomy, but I think that's because it was created 21 years ago before you and I had even met as individuals.
Well, and it's a Shonda show, right?
Yeah. Right, but Shonda Rhimes, I think, is now down to just Grey's Anatomy, when there was a time where it was all Shonda Rhimes running that. Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Station 19, Private Practice. That's been real pared down to Grey's Anatomy and Abbott Elementary are really the only shows that ABC has that are any sort of diversity. And I'm not talking about DEI or anything like that. I'm just saying not seeing just white people on your television.
Well, and the old homes for that all got swallowed up, right? UPN and all that. And I mean, what's Fox even doing nowadays? Is Fox has got their they just did their animation domination lineup that they just announced. There's a new one there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's starting up in May, and I don't know if we ever talked about it. American Dad got picked up for 4 years at Fox. That is now official. Also, The Simpsons got 4 more years, and I loved all the internet stuff about like The Simpsons seemed nervous about the fact that they have to do 4 more years of shows. Which was just funny to read. But yeah, like other than that, I mean, like High Surf Rescue has not been renewed yet, and even that one, pretty white show for like being set in California. Like the chief was really the only sort of person who wasn't white. Animal Control, you have a little bit of diversity there, but like your main character is Joel McHale, super white guy. His partner is super white, but then you do have like Patel and Vella Lovell as, you know, other people who are in that show. So you have a little bit there. But even Animal Control, I don't know if that's going to get I love Animal Control. I think it is fantastic. I think it does a pretty good job at like, it brings in really good guest stars to inject like some, like you're not just white people on the screen. But other than that, Fox is mostly game shows right now.
Yeah.
So
they mostly do the sports and game show thing now.
Yeah. I don't know. We're going to see where the world is going. And I don't know if streaming, like the backlash that Wednesday has received, because the first season of Wednesday came out in like 2021, and now it's 2025 and they're getting the second one. And just like this, why can't streaming shows have like a year-to-year release? Why is it 4 years between the first and second season? And Pugsley from the first season to the second season, he now looks like Lurch. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like, so,
yeah, I mean, part of that is the promise of streaming is that you are able to get, in theory, your higher end artists in that regard, right? And so there is something to the idea of like, well, we're going to work around schedules to make sure that we get the right people to do this thing. We don't have to adhere to a certain shooting schedule that TV has to, right?
Right. And I understand. You and I understand that. But the people who have been reacting like, what the hell is this? Why was it 4 years? Look at how different the cast is in those 4 years. And it's just like...
Man, go watch some British television, man. Like, that shit, sometimes there's like 10 years between series out there.
Yeah, but it's also 10 years within the series. Like if time has
are
passed,
they not? What are they doing within Wednesday? Are they
like? I think like she's going back to the school for her sophomore year. Like it's not going to be a bunch of time has passed. She's still probably going to be a high school student.
Yeah, but the other thing to keep in mind is also that like the Addams Family is always out of time and space.
Oh, of course.
Like they
Again, I don't have the issue.
It's one of the big things about like it's one of the big jokes about them in the animated movie is that like they go into the real world and it's like far more advanced technologically than they than
yeah.
Yeah.
And weirdly, that's why the Brady Bunch movie is like the third Addams Family film. But we'll get there when we discuss that. But it's just the only reason that I highlight that is like for me, I don't care. I understand that like how streaming entertainment works and that it might take a little bit more time. But it really does seem to be this crack in the kayfabe of streaming television that like people realized, oh, like look at how much time has passed and what that has done to the cast. And it's like, you guys knew that when you signed on, right? Like, that's always kind of been how streaming works. Like, none of the Stranger Things actors are still kids. And originally that was like, they were kids. That was the whole drive of it. Kids dealing with supernatural shit. And now, like, one of them's got 401k and the other one's got an artificial hip. That's not true. I don't watch Stranger Things. I don't know anything. But also, along those same lines, we did a bunch of spoilers at the top of this thing. The Last of Us. And the way that people reacted to the second episode of season 2 of The Last of Us. Are you following this at all?
I mean, not in any major capacity other than, like, I don't know. I really like that show. So, like, I try not to get involved in any of the weird conversations people seem to have about Bella Ramsey specifically. But why? What specifically are you talking about? Because I don't know.
So, have you played the games?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know that big thing that happened in the second game that upset a bunch of people? That happened in the show in the second episode of season 2.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And
so people are.
And the reaction is just as bad as it was when it happened in the game. And the only reason I'm talking like a little bit is that Claude, who listens to the show, has like, he didn't even know that The Last of Us is back. Like, I'm like, yeah, there's been 2 episodes so far. And he's like, I like to wait till the season's done. I'm like, maybe you watch the first 2 episodes and then do it. Like, think that it's a hiatus. And I was out at breakfast, like, in the middle of the week, and these people were talking. He's like, man, like, that was a hell of a season finale, huh? Can't wait till season 3. And the guy sitting with, he's like, that was the second episode of season 2. There's 8 more episodes. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, real good breakfast spot chatter, like, to my left. And I'm just like, I don't even watch this show. I haven't even played the games, but, you know, I keep my finger in the world so that I know things, and I don't know how anyone could be surprised that it happened. Like, the more surprising thing is that it happened as soon as it did into season 2. Mm-hmm. Like, that's...
Yeah.
But there you go. Like, that's been, like, streaming entertainment. And I don't even consider, like, Max streaming entertainment. It's still HBO. So it's not TV, it's HBO. But it's mostly week to week. And with a regular cable package, you could be watching that stuff week to week. So
right.
It doesn't feel the same. But, you know, a lot of people only have Max. They don't have HBO. So they view that as a streaming show. So there's just been... a lot of the facade was, like, broken this week in the conversations that I have seen and overheard and even been a part of. So,
yeah, I mean, it's the big thing where, like, I know that I come off like an asshole when I talk about this because at the end of the day, the major fault is on the corporations that create these things. But the audiences just don't help themselves nowadays.
No, not at all. I agree with what you. Like I said, I mean, like, people being upset that it wasn't Demons and Sinners. Like, that's such a weird. And honestly, it was the only thing my mother knew about that movie was what the bad guys were. And she's like, I'm a little afraid to see this movie. You keep insisting that I'll love it, but I'm a little nervous because I don't really like horror films. And I'm like, stop thinking of it as a horror film and, like, watch it. And again, she's like. She's so happy. We almost saw it again on Thursday. We had tickets to see The Accountant Squared, and she's like, I kind of just want to go see Sinners again. And I'm like, I'll go see Sinners again right now, as much as I want to see The Accountant Squared. But if we're doing it, we're driving up to the IMAX in Massachusetts that's showing it in 70 millimeter. And it turns out it wasn't, like, the only reason that we saw The Accountant Squared Thursday and not that is because that theater is no longer showing it in 70 millimeter. Because, like, I want to see Sinners again, and I cannot wait till I see Sinners again. The only way I'm going to a theater is if it's a 70 millimeter, like, presentation of it in IMAX, because I want to see how it was shot and what Coogler did with that technology.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Which I guess I am going to bring it to this. No, I'm going to save The Accountant Squared because we got to talk about what happened to us on Wednesday night, Sejan, after we recorded American Pie Presents Bandcamp.
Yeah, we should have a little bit of a conversation about the shit show that was the Nintendo Switch 2 launch.
Now, the first thing I'm going to say is, if you weren't able to secure a pre-order for the Nintendo Switch 2, you're probably still going to be able to get a Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think it's going to be like the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series systems. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Nintendo has said that they have anticipated needs, and one of the reasons why it's not coming out till it's coming out is so that they can make sure they have enough stock at launch. That doesn't account for assholes who are going to try, buy, and scalp. Like, that's a thing that's going to be happening. There are going to be people who are going to buy them up and sell them for a markup. It's going to happen, and it sucks.
I do think that Nintendo's attempt to deter the scalpers this year was that whole listing thing, where you could get on the list with them to be interested in purchasing a Nintendo Switch 2, right? And then they sent like special invitation to you to then be able to come in and buy the thing.
But those invitations have not gone out yet. And the unfortunate thing, that is a beautiful idea, the whole thing. But Nintendo also shot themselves in the foot with that when they're like, just because you get one of the special invitations to order it from us, that doesn't mean you're going to have a Nintendo Switch 2 on launch day. Like, it's like, oh, cool. So why would I do that?
Why would I do that and not go through somewhere else?
Yeah, it was a good idea on paper. The implementation of it was very poorly done. Like, it's the fact that invitations did not go out prior to when they went up for pre-order at retailers. That's stupid. That is a stupid thing to do, Nintendo. I'm talking you, Nintendo. I'm looking you in the eye and saying, because I need to. The only reason I'm going to deal with the retailer stuff is if I don't know that I have one coming from you, and the fact that you haven't told me if I'm on your special list of invitees yet really does me no favors. I'm still going to have to be part of the shitstorm.
Right.
So CJ and I, we record most Wednesday nights, our special episode stuff, our Adam Sandler stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to hang out in the middle of the week sometimes just to talk to CJ. I love him. He's my friend. He's not just my podcasting partner. I want to make sure you know that, CJ. I want to take time to appreciate you. I love you, buddy.
This is an intimate moment that you're now recording for the whole world.
You know what? I don't mind it because it's true. And you were there with me during the shit show that was the Nintendo Switch pre-orders. So at 12 p.m. Eastern time, they were supposed to go up. My plan was to get them at Best Buy. I'm going to get a little bit of a savings, and I'm going to be able to get the financing from Best Buy just because of how expensive this system is. And it's not that I can't do it, but like if I can only throw if for 12 months I can throw $50 to Best Buy and get the system on release date, that's appealing to me. I'm not going to lie to you. Like that was an appealing thing. But Best Buy, for some reason, did not have their systems up at midnight. And it's not because their system wasn't working. You could still go other places on the Best Buy website because Wal-Mart and Target, their websites crashed. That was what happened for Target and for Walmart at 12 Eastern time when Switch 2 pre-orders went live. But Best Buy's was still active, but their systems just weren't available at midnight. So I go to Walmart, I get in the line there, and then I immediately get it sold out. So like, oh, great, thank you. And I don't even know if it's really sold out or if the system just crashed out while I was in your line. So then I go to Target, and I'm able to get one in my cart, and I have an account with Target. And, you know, to borrow a phrase from NECA, which NECA is a whole other thing. We're not talking about it this week. But I'm a little mad at NECA is all I'm going to say. And I'm not the only one. But you know, I'm in good standing with Target. I'm a Red Card member. They just gave me Circle 360 for free because of the frequency I'm purchasing from there. And I know that right now Target is a bit of a, like, not the greatest place in the world, that there's some boycotts going on there. But, like, every corporation is bad. You got to pick the less of the evils. And I've decided to back Target, and I'm willing to say that. A lot of the times, although I go into Target, I don't buy anything. I just kind of go in like to walk around and look at things and be like, oh, if only, if but for the grace of God, right? But I get it in my cart at Target. I buy stuff from Target. I literally just spent $300 at a Target getting collectibles for Dale and I, like, not a week ago. And so I get it in my cart and I'm like, all right, I'm going to check out. And then Target's like, you need to refill in all your information for us. We don't care that you're logged into your account that's giving us money. We need all your information. And by the time I got that information, sold out. Sorry. So getting it in my cart, that didn't really help me either. Luckily, Best Buy finally puts up their systems at 12:41 a.m. Eastern time. So 41 minutes after everybody else. And, you know, it's kind of nice, right? They gave me, like, a fallback. It's like a backup plan.
Yeah.
And I'm still talking with Siege. Siege and I were playing games together. We're talking. We're doing it. I get in line on Best Buy.
Just keep asking, you got one yet?
Yeah.
No, okay.
And I did it on my phone so that, like, I could move around with it. I'm in line on Best Buy on my phone, 12:41 a.m. on Wednesday, I don't know, was it the 23rd? There we go. No, the 24th. It was Thursday the 24th. It was midnight on the 24th. So I'm in line, and I'm in line, and I'm in line until 2:30 a.m. I've gone to bed at this point, but I'm not sleeping. I'm just laying down, waiting for my time in the line to come up. 2:30 a.m., the screen finally changes. And what does this say, C-Jim? This product is sold out. So
I'm so sorry, man.
No, I mean, again, it's one of those...
like you were experiencing what the world was experiencing. Like you were just basically my window into what everybody was dealing with. I found out the next day when I saw everybody talking about basically the same experience all night. I don't know anybody that got one, honestly.
Yeah, it's very true. I don't know anybody who has a Switch 2 pre-order, and it's fine. Like I said, you're going to be able to find them. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it's making it look out now. Though there was a report from Nintendo that they've since walked back that they're like, we did not anticipate people being so excited for our system, which is really like, oh, that's the thing, huh? When you said you're going to have enough systems for everybody at launch, and then like, oh, we didn't anticipate everybody being excited for our new system. Why would people want to get a Switch 2? They could just get a Switch. Idiots. But then even like, have you heard about the GameStop kerfuffle that like will ultimately lead nowhere? But I feel like it's worth mentioning as the coda, as our 1992 Chicago scene for this whole thing.
I'm blown away that they're thinking they're still going to be selling video games by the time the Switch 2 comes out. But no, what happened to them?
Well, they're definitely so. They did not go live at midnight. They said since pre-orders open on the 24th, you can come into the store. All of them were limit one per customer. On the store doors, they put up signs that said, we have X amount of the standard unit and X amount of the Mario Kart World unit. And, you know, there is some anticipation from Nintendo. The Mario Kart World bundles, right, the $500 versions, they had about double what they had of just the system versions of that. So they are anticipating that people are going to want a game with their system and are going to be willing to pay that $50. I think is one of the reasons why the game is $80, to be completely honest with you, to make the bundle more appealing. And then, you know, once that bundle no longer is selling in 3 to 5 months, you have to pay $80 if you want to play the game that kind of everybody else is playing on the Nintendo Switches.
And that FOMO pricing comes in.
Exactly. So there you go with that whole thing. But it's a store in Astoria that people were going in to pre-order the Switch 2, and they're like, you can only pre-order the bundle. Our SKU isn't working for just the system. So the only way you can get a pre-order today is if you pre-order it with a Pro Controller or with the camera or with a headset or a carrying case or all that stuff. And people were upset about that, the fact that they couldn't just pre-order the system. And rightfully so. Let's just be completely honest about that. That's a lie. That is a lie. So that PBA, this is what got me thrown out of a Radio Shack corporate meeting because it's asked, what are we famous for? And the correct answer is PBA, parts, batteries, and accessories. And I said batteries. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. That district manager was so mad at me for like looking him in the eyes going, batteries? Because let's be honest, how often did you go to Radio Shack for parts or accessories, Sejan? You go to Radio Shack for batteries.
No, usually it was because you needed a weird battery for a thing that you couldn't get at a normal store.
Yeah, like, so me like distilling that down to is batteries. People come to Radio Shack for batteries. He was not happy about that. But the reason why parts, batteries, and accessories were such a big part of the Radio Shack like marketing plan was that they had the highest profit margins. Those things made the company a lot of money, and they were pretty easy to add on. You don't really make any profit on a cell phone, but if you sell a case for that cell phone, an additional charger for that cell phone, that is pure profit to the company. Because like Verizon doesn't give that stuff. The company produces that stuff, usually on the cheap, and then marks it up. So that's where they're making their real money. If you want to hurt a corporation, go in and buy just the base model. We talk about that all the time, that consoles are sold at a loss, right? You buy a console, you're hurting Nintendo. You buy a console and a game, you're kind of helping Nintendo.
Yeah, but I have to say, to the GameStop of it all, as somebody that has worked in retail in many a place, I don't understand their reasoning. They said the SKU for just the system wasn't working, but they were able to ring up a bundle SKU instead.
Yeah, the SKU for the system the SKU for the Switch 2 is not working in our systems. So you can't pre-order that, but if you pre-order the bundle, because those are SKUs that we made in-house, those are working. So like it was just a GameStop has come out and said they're going to investigate it. But, like, that's standard operating procedure at fucking GameStop, that they're going to try to upsell you. So, like, pushing bundles instead of just pushing the consoles on their own, like, they were just doing what corporate GameStop tells them to do. Like,
yeah, I mean, it sounds like there was somebody doing something fucking dumb. Like, somebody just, but I don't know if I would call it malicious. But I think that they're going to find that, like, basically stupidity and then people following the rules that they are aware of, like, led to just some poor decision making. But I think somebody fucked up there.
Oh yeah, somebody definitely fucked up.
It makes no sense that was, because if it wasn't working in their system, how is it working in everybody else's system?
Right, but I'm not going to everybody else. I'm going to this particular store, and the only information that I'm getting
but
is
every other GameStop is not having this problem.
Yes.
So what is going on at this particular?
The problem, and I think that the reason that person even went up is like the sour grapes of the fact that I couldn't get a system. And it was weird because they were only selling bundles. So not only did they sell out, but like people weren't allowed to just pre-order the system. They had to pre-order the system plus something else. And someone tweets about that, and then other people are like, that wasn't what was happening at my GameStop. And then the person responds, yeah, they said that there was an issue with the SKU. And it's like, well, that's the person who's going to get fired. And I'm sorry to whoever you are, nameless GameStop employee. I hope that you're not management level, because, like, you make good money as a manager at GameStop, and I would feel bad that you lose your job and probably the style of life that you have become accustomed to. I hope it was some low-level person who just, like, fucked up and they're able to get another job. But, like, that's the person who's going to be called responsible. And the reason that they're responsible is because that should not have been the reason that they gave. That the SKU on just the system isn't working. Say that we're only doing pre-orders and bundles, like, that's fine. I've heard that at GameStop before. Dale has said that at GameStops before when she was an employee there. That, like, you can't just pre-order the system, you have to pre-order it with something.
Which is still shitty, but at least it's
still shitty, but it's
taking a big swing at, like, what could be the problem that may not actually be the problem.
It's a sin of omission rather than an outright lie. And that is the distinction's important. Like saying, oh, we can't just scan into systems. It's all computers anyway, you fucking idiot. What are you talking about? It's not like you have Nintendo Switch 2s there and you can't scan them yet. Like, you created the SKU for just the system and the bundle. You fucking assholes. So yeah, it's just been weird. It's been a weird sort of week on that thing. Again, even though I don't even know if I want to switch to, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm in this weird place. You know what I played yesterday? I was hanging out with some friends. You know what game we decided to boot up?
Wii Sports?
Oh, I wish. Donkey Kong 64.
Hell yeah, man.
And playing Donkey Kong 64 and remembering how slow it is for that game to get started, I don't know if I'm excited for Bonanza anymore. Though that game looks completely different. It looks completely different, but
sure. But and one would hope that they've learned some things in the last 20 years to make a faster moving game.
True. And it looks fast in the trailers, but just like we're like, oh, we'll see how far we can get. We got to the third stage, and it was when we bought the ability for Donkey Kong to pull switches that one of the people hanging out was just like, this game's fucking terrible. You have to buy every mechanic that is just a mechanic in usual video games. I'm surprised they let you jump from the beginning of the game. And it's like, yeah, I mean, but you gotta buy a butt slam. Like, how weird is it that you don't start that game with the ability to slam after jumping? That's like 3D platforming 101, man. Like,
I mean, Mario, Donkey Kong has been able to do that since Donkey Kong Country.
that's true. If he falls from high enough, he breaks the ground. Yeah, so it's one of those situations where, like, I hope that I'm taking a vacation in the summer. I don't have to drive. It is just a pure vacation, and it'd be really nice to have the Nintendo Switch with me for that trip. But if it doesn't happen, I'll be okay. And the way that people get so upset about the fact that they couldn't get the pre-order, like, the world of gaming has changed so much. Because of the pandemic, and it's crazy. That's all that it is.
Yep. Wild times, man.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing and this is going to be brief because I do want to have people a chance to see it. But The Accountant, which was like the last movie that really captured my imagination before we started doing this show. 2016, great movie. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, John Lovitz. God, I love The Accountant. J.K. Simmons, Anna Kendrick. Oh, such a good movie. Finally got a sequel, right? They've been threatening to do a sequel to The Accountant for since the first movie came out. And Accountant Squared, which is what I'll call it because I'm an asshole. You put the 2 up in a freaking super script. That's The Accountant Squared. That's not The Accountant 2. I'm sorry. The movie is excellent. The movie is really, really good. That's all that I'll say from here. I'll give people a chance to see it. But it's my favorite type of sequel, where it is just more time spent with characters I already know and love. And it's made even better by the actors knowing and loving these characters as well. So, there's real care put on the screen. The worst thing to come out of The Accountant Squared is the fact that for some reason, Daniela Pineda, who is in the film, they have decided let's resurrect her whole comments during live action Cowboy Bebop. Like, let's go back to her being like, I'm tired of trolls on the internet who are like, you're too fat to be Faye Valentine. Like, why did we have to resurrect that? The show didn't do well. Why did you ask her questions about Cowboy Bebop's failure 4 years after the fact?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what a wild thing to be bringing up.
It's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, I definitely, if you like the first Accountant, you'll probably love The Accountant Squared. It's very different from Sinners, but, the last 2 Thursdays we went to go see movies. Very exciting to, like, come out of them and be like, man, like, feels like movies are kind of back, right? As weird as it was that April was kind of just, like, guy running, like regular guy doing stuff, starting with a Working Man and then The Amateur into the, like, Sinners and The Accountant, The Accountant Squared. Like, they all worked as movies, though it's a shame that The Accountant Squared is currently 3rd in the box office, getting beaten by Revenge of the Sith, a movie that when it first released everybody was like, that movie kind of sucked, but oh, what difference hindsight makes, Adrian. Yeah, it's just
I got some opinions about that, but we're not going to get into that. That would be a whole other episode.
Not at this point. Like, we're winding this one down. But I would feel weird not talking about having seen The Accountant. I want to make sure that, like, I saw it. It's good. And also, when you talk about, Wednesday season 1 to season 2, people saying that, like, it was 4 years. The Accountant, the time has passed. It's been 8 years since the last Accountant movie. 8 years have passed in the world. And that, like, matters in the storyline. Like, they incorporated it. So it's just, like, 2 sides of that coin. I would be all right if Wednesday was now attending some, like, crazy gothic college and not still in high school. I think that people are intelligent enough for that. I don't know.
But if that's not the story they want to tell, I don't
That's
understand.
true. I mean, you get that point as well. I mean,
who cares?
It doesn't matter, right? Like, actors are actors. They're all acting, right? The high schoolers in 90210, all of them were in their 30s. Their children should have been in the show. Let's be honest. I kid, but it's a good joke. All right. I think that's everything that I wanted to make sure we touched on this week. Any other things that you want to say, Siege, before we move this one along to Will for final processing?
No, we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah. Thunderbolts 2. No, not Thunderbolts 2. Thunderbolts Asterisk happens this Friday. I don't know if we're going to be talking about it next week, but I'm definitely seeing it. Additionally, next week is May, and there's a thing that happens in May, right, Jim? What happens in May at the Say Report?
We celebrate, as we have always celebrated, Brendan Fraser History Month, Devon.
Yes, so we will be celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month. We haven't 100% locked down what we're doing, so that'll be a fun exposure moment for you. The only thing that we have is a vague promise from Will to write the definitive Brendan Fraser History Month song. I don't know what that means. that was so out of pocket when he's like, I'm writing a song. The definitive Brendan Fraser History Month song.
We have to give him some leeway on that, folks. He was on some pretty heavy painkillers.
He was on some pretty heavy pain medication at the time. So we'll see what happens. But it should be a good time either way. That's starting in Thunderbolt Asterisk. We're going to have some fun stuff to talk about next week. This was a fun one too, right? Suits LA was actually enjoyable. And Siege finally saw Sinners. So we got the nerd out about that. But with that, if you want to keep the conversation going, you can join us in our Discord. Invitations to join are available wherever we are on social media. So currently, as of this recording, that is Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. Just navigate to our bio section, and there should be a link to join our Discord. If you can't find that, or you just want to go old school, send an email to us, thesayreport@gmail.com, and we can facilitate you with an invitation that way. Or you can just correspond with us, like we're people in a Ken Burns documentary. Ken Burns, right? I know what he's called, right? If I cared, I would edit out me saying Ken Burns, but now I think I'm just going to call him Ken Burns. I've lost the track. But we can do that like we're in a Civil War documentary where you can send us an email, we'll send you an email back. It'll be fun. And if you only want to correspond with me, Devon Decker, or him, Sejan Sarwick, just make sure you put our first names in the subject line. Mine is Devon. Sejan, spell your name for the people.
SEJOHN SEROWIK.
Oh, look at you. I didn't need the last name, but thank you. I just wanted your first name because you're just going to put the first name in the subject line. And we will make sure that it is distributed to the proper Say reporter and that the other one has no idea about your devious plan to usurp the job of the other Say reporter or whatever crazy nonsense you're going to send an email about. But with all of that said, thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. It is always appreciated. And William, please bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejan Sarwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.